Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees after a very, very long break of examinations and CBAs and OBAs and Shloka test and surcharged with the Kartik bliss of Mayapur, Vrindavan, and wherever you all had been for your yatras as such. So we are back with the Bhagavad Gita. So we'll be starting with the 13th chapter to the 18th. So this is the last unit for the Bhagavad Gita. And post this, I'm planning to start with Nectar of Devotion. That is another big book as such. And in the end, we'll keep Nectar of Instruction so that in the end, still a little more relaxing devotees have as such. So with that, we'll just quickly start with Mangalacharan and we'll go on to the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakhaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this particular chapter, the 13th chapter, is beginning with the Jnana section of the Bhagavad Gita. So we saw the Karma section from chapters 1 to 6. Then we had the Bhakti Yoga from 7 to 12. And this chapter, the 13th chapter, is considered to be the most philosophically most complex and intricate chapter because it contains many verses which are very difficult to comprehend, especially when the 13th, from the 13th shloka of this chapter to the 19th. It's a little quite difficult, but we'll make it very easy for you to understand it. So, the first 6 chapters teach us that how karma leads to bhakti. And the middle 6 chapters, from chapter 7 to 12, they're saying about bhakti itself. And the 13th chapter, from the 13th chapter to the 18th chapter, it's about Gyan and how Gyan also leads to bhakti. So here you have, if you have that stream, karma leads to bhakti or Gyan also leads to bhakti. And chapter 13 begins only with, a question from Arjuna about the 6 questions he asks, and he wishes to know about Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragna, Jnanam, and Geyam. And then from the 10th chapter onwards, when Krishna stops speaking, and then because Krishna thinks that now I have spoken enough after the 10th chapter, but then still Arjuna is taking that conversation more forward in the 11th chapter. So these 11, 12, 13, these chapters, these topics of discussion are actually generated by Arjuna for common people like us. For us, he has actually generated these questions. So somebody might ask that why did Arjuna generate only these questions? So it is not necessary that something in previous chapter will lead to a particular question, but in the 11th chapter, if you see, a question came from the 10th chapter only. And by the end of the 10th chapter, Krishna had said that Ekam Sena Sthito Jagat. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this whole entire universe. So then based on that, Arjuna, asked the question that, can you show me your Virat Roop? So then, and then another reason for Arjuna asking this question is so that, the people in general, the future people in general can establish faith on Krishna, because the Lord has shown uh, his form directly to Arjuna that way. And in the 10th chapter, the question on vibhutis had come, which is actually not related to any discussion as such, but it is that how can one think about Krishna even while staying in this material world? And when one is in this material world, and how he can connect with Krishna, think about him every second or all the time he can think about. So, and then the 12th chapter is not immediately related with, the 11th and the 11th chapter. And the 13th chapter is also not related with any question from the 12th chapter or anything before that. But Arjuna has asked some question based on some Vedic terminology known to him in the 13th chapter. So Arjuna is asking 6 questions in the first shloka itself. And Krishna answers to these questions, and he will answer throughout the whole chapter these 6 questions that have been put by Krishna. So, with that, we'll just start. Now, over here, Krishna is going to give detailed knowledge to us, that is Gyan to us. The first and the second shlokas are clubbed together. He says, प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञनम् एव च एताद् वेदितुम् इच्छामि ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव. And then Shri Bhagavan uvacha idam shariram kaunteya क्षेत्रं मिति अभिधीयते एताद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहु क्षेत्र ज्ञान iti tadvidah. So he says, Arjuna said, "Oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of knowledge, and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field. And the one who knows this body is called the knower of the field." So, if you see um, in this particular that Arjuna is asking that what is Prakriti and what is Purusha. And he's saying that Veditam Ichhami. He's saying that I wish to know. Veditam means to know. And then he's saying Kshetram, Kshetra, Jnanam Evacha. So he's saying that Kshetra is the field of knowledge and the knower also. And Jnanam Gneyam Cha Keshava. Jnanam is like knowledge, and Geyam is the thing which is to be known. Okay, so what is to be known? The Supreme Lord is to be known. So these terms are very familiar in Vedic knowledge. And what do they exactly mean is that Krishna is saying that idam shariram kaunteya. So this body, Krishna is pointing out at whose body? He's pointing out at Arjuna's body. It is called abhidiyate, means known as. Okay. And then Krishna is saying that etad yo veti means one who knows this, tam prahu, and that particular person or that particular entity is known as Kshetragna. So tad vidaha, those who know, vidaha is means to know, and tad is that, those who know that. So Krishna is saying that the knowers call this body as Kshetra and the knower as Kshetragna. So this in one sense, Krishna doesn't tell who is the knower. He just says that one who knows it is called Kshetragna. So when the scriptures were copied, in the earlier days, uh, one where some words can be changed a little bit, but the overall meaning will remain the same. So if we compare Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, which is like, 1,015,000 years old, sorry, 5,000 years old, and the current one, it is same. So scriptures are, you can say that they are, how do I put it? Scriptures are also living document in the disciplic succession, and a devotee also remembered that, and he's internalizing it, and he's living his life according to that scripture. So Bhagavad Gita is the most stable scripture where in terms of his recension. So when some acharyas, they write commentaries, they dealt with recension in a very particular way. So, and that particular scripture, what is the difference? That which is most authentic, uh, and which one he's taking now, and why is he taking it now? So, if you see some commentators who wrote the Bhagavad Gita commentary, and they're claiming that in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shiva, who has been talked about, although in Bhagavad Gita the name of Shiva is not used much, but still he could not change the verse of Bhagavad Gita. Only his commentary he has very much changed some whimsically as such. So he could not change the Bhagavad Gita verses at all, because so many books are available. And if he tries to change, then he will be caught. So that is why, though Bhagavad Gita is very stable, and Arjuna's question in this very first shloka is there. So, even for the discussion's sake, if we, assume that Arjuna didn't ask some this question, still that would not make any difference, because Krishna's answer would be the same only. Idam shariram konte kshetram iti abhidyate etad yo veti tam prahu kshetragna iti tad vidaha. But in that case, a question may come that why suddenly Krishna started talking about Kshetra, Kshetragna, Jnana, Gneya, Purusha, and Prakriti, all these six terms. Why did he start? So we have to see from the eyes of the acharyas. And acharyas like Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, uh, so some scholars may, acharyas have included it, but some scholars may not include it. We don't have to, means I'm not getting into a debate as such over here, but in the Gita press, often this question is not there only. These six questions are not there. So still, how Krishna has already explained bhakti is superior to jnana, and now Krishna wants to clarify the other terms also, because in the 13th chapter there is Sankhya also, and uh, this word has come from the third chapter and the fifth chapter especially. So when we say Sankhya, so Sankhya means the analysis of this material nature, the five Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, and all. And somebody can even go beyond this matter. So that is why some people might get bewildered and they might get caught into these forms and appearances. But once somebody understands these forms and appearances are made for some fundamental elements and they themselves are not very captivating, like for example, uh, air or water is not captivating, but I just use it as per my need, right? I use it to breathe, but I will not be captivated about air and water. And then we go beyond and look at what is that which brings it alive, and what is that real substance, or what is that basis of life. And the basis of life is love. And then we go to the spiritual reality, that there is a soul, there is a super soul, and the soul is meant to serve the super soul. So here the focus is actually analyzing in Sankhya. The focus is more on analyzing the matter, and its focus is on consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada, that is why has called this chapter, if you see, nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. So that is the Supreme Lord and the enjoyer. The Supreme Lord and the consciousness refers to that Jiva. So, how does this nomenclature or the title of this chapter come about? So, Arjuna is asking what is Kshetra, what is Kshetragna, what is Jnana and Gneya, and what is Purusha and Prakriti, if you see. So, in this, if we see, one is conscious and the other is not much conscious. Prakriti is not conscious. Kshetra is not conscious. Gneya, Purusha, and Kshetragna is conscious. So, there are three entities that have been talked about as, we had discussed, if you remember, Tattva Jive, Jagat and Jagdisha. So, Jagat is, the material nature, that is the Prakriti and Kshetra. And then Jiva can be Purusha and the Kshetragna also. Similarly, Ishwar also can be Kshetragna or Purusha. So this material nature, it refers to, this nature is referring to material nature. The enjoyer is referring to Ishwar, that is the Supreme Lord. And consciousness is referring to Jiva. And that is why, if you see in Srila Prabhupada's purport also, that field of activity is the body. So, what is exactly the meaning of Kshetra? Kshetra is a part only of Prakriti. Prakriti is the material nature, because all around us is material nature, right? But we cannot control all of that material nature. We can only control some parts. Like, for example, I can move my hand, but not your hand. Your hand only you can move. And I cannot control beyond my jurisdiction. So the Kshetragna refers to that area of influence. And the preliminary level, Kshetra, is the body. So all of us have some influence over the body. Of course, we do not have the complete influence or the complete control over the body. There is much that is happening in the body also right now, and which it is beyond my also control, or our control as such. So I cannot control my breathing, I cannot control my digestion. So different living entities has different level of Kshetra. Like for example, if you see amoeba, the amoeba has a very small control, or the Kshetra. It is having its own eating, mating, or reproduction, sleeping, defending mechanisms, and every living entity has a different mechanism. So the soul has that consciousness, and it has the capacity to use this particular brain. The brain is just a tool. The covering in human body is lesser than the covering in the animal body. So the kshetra that is human body has a bigger potential or greater potential for inquiring about spirituality, and a capacity that is other than even kshetra. So the body can have a greater capacity, and soul can have a more greater capacity by which it can perceive things. So right now, when we are perceiving something, we are perceiving through the soul, and that is why the kshetragna, the owner is, distinctly kshetragna. This is what Srila Prabhupada is actually trying to say in this, in his purport also, if you see. Now let's go to the next. So if you see in your Subodhini also, very nicely, Gaurang Darshan Prabhu has explained. Kshetra is the body, Kshetragna is the soul, and Kshetragna is Krishna too. And Gnanam is that perfect knowledge. You'll be able to understand more with, the Subodhini. This understanding will be more clearer with Subodhini. So let's see with the third part. What is he saying? क्षेत्रज्ञ चापि मां वेधि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञयो ज्ञानम यत् यत्तज ज्ञानम मतं मम. O scan of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. So he's saying that Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi. He's saying that know that I am also the Kshetragna. But what kind of Kshetragna I am? So then he's saying that Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. I know all the fields. And then he's saying that, in the English translation. So, Kshetra, Kshetragna or Jnanam. So, this knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetragna, both. And yat tat Jnanam matam mamaham. So, this is my understanding. According to me, this is what is called knowledge, and that is my opinion. Matam mamaha, that is my opinion. And in general, when it is said my opinion, it is to decrease the weight. But when Krishna uses the word, he is the supreme Lord, or you can say he is the absolute truth. It becomes that ultimate reality, and his opinion coincides with the reality. So basically, when we say knowledge of matter and spirit, is knowledge according to him, according to Krishna. So in modern science also we have this material knowledge, but we don't have much of spiritual knowledge. In the schools and colleges, they don't teach much about spiritual knowledge. So in Kshetragna, there are two kinds. We should know that there is a soul and there is a super soul, and the knower of all bodies. So the complete knowledge is knowledge of matter, soul, and super soul. And that is why he's saying that Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi. So cha means what? Also. Which says that there are two entities. There is the soul and the super soul. And if you see in Srila Prabhupada's purport also over here, that uh, he says over here क्षेत्राणि हि शरीराणि बीजं चापि शुभाशुभे तानि वेत्ति स योगात्मा तत kshetragnan uchyate. So he's saying that kshetrani hi sharirani, that body is called as kshetra, and bijam chapi shubha shubhe. So just as in the fields seeds are sown, similarly we also do activities that are shubh and ashubh, auspicious and inauspicious, and they become seeds. They become like the seeds, and tani veti sa yogatma. So tani to one who knows this, that yogatma is called what? Kshetragna. So tata kshetragna uchyate. Such a person is actual kshetragna. He's the knower of the field. So sometimes, Prabhupada is saying that he's saying over here, with that example, one should not confuse the painter, the painting, and the SL. This material world, which is the field of activities, is nature, and the enjoyer of nature is the living entities, and both of them is the supreme controller, the supreme personality of Godhead. So, this is a this example of this painter is a very approximate example, and this is not entirely, a technically precise example, but the point is that the ultimate doer is the Supreme Lord. So, like, he is the painter, the Supreme Lord is a painter, and the SL, the canvas, and the paper on which painting happens is the material nature, Prakriti. And the painting is that living entity who is having his particular kshetra. So sometimes somebody might say that why is this, not an accurate example? It is because it does not have that free will by which the living entity, does his own work. The living entity has its own free will. But the point here is to know the ultimate knower and control the Supreme Lord. So, even in Prabhupada's purport, if you see, he's quoting over here that Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. Sorry, Bhoktaram, sorry. Bhokta Bhogyam Peritaram Cha Matva Sarvam Proktam Trividham Brahman Etad. So he's saying that there are three Brahman conceptions. Prakriti is Brahman as the field of activity. The Jiva is also Brahman, is trying to control the material nature. And the controller of both of them is also Brahman, but he is the factual controller. So, the material nature and the Supreme Lord can be referred to as Brahman because the two are, manifestations of the Brahman. And one is Brahman himself. So Prabhupada is mentioning that they are not one, they are different. To understand them as one is also wrong. So there are two ways of knowledge, he's saying that. One is the Chit, the original consciousness of the soul, that is the part of the Sat, Chit, and Anand. And one is the Chitta. Chitta means consciousness which is rooted in the material world. So, soul has original consciousness, which is capable of perceiving the spiritual reality, but right now we cannot perceive it. Although the super soul is sitting in my heart next to me. So it is like, a person is watching a movie in a theater, okay, and who is caught up in that particular movie. And although he can look right and left, but he does not watch anything else. So when a soul's consciousness is locked in a particular area, the soul is having chitta only. So right now it is caught up in that body, right? So that is why it is having only chitta conscious. So uh, they say that there are two ways of acquiring knowledge. One is Vyashti, from the individual to the universal, and the other is, like, for example, Prabhupada is saying that uh, I, you, and everyone one else is a person. So God also must be a person, right? And the second way of acquiring knowledge is samashti, means from the universal to the individual, like thinking about the whole total creation and then trying to understand a particular individual person. And then another way of looking at the Kshetragya would be like, the five koshas, if you all know the five koshas. That is also one way, So koshas are basically objective levels of God's energy and subjective level of individual realization. So, for example, citizens are objective reality. Someone is citizen of India and they know that the citizen of India, a small infant baby might not really know, or an animal might not know about their citizenship, right? So that is why when the five koshas are there, then this maya comes. There is the Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Jnanamaya kosha, Vignanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. So, Anandamaya kosha, which relates to Bhagavan and Bhakti. Okay. And Vignanamaya relates to our Atma. Then Annamaya means according to the food. Just 1 minute. Huh? And Pranamaya is, our, the life air. And Jnanamaya means when we actually have the knowledge of the subtle body. So when we talk about Annamaya refers to actually food. Means that this level, the conception of life is for eating. People think that, okay, if you see, at least in my Gujarati, caste, we think that we are living only for eating. So, existence only for eating. Like a small infant, as soon as, it's born, and immediately when the mother starts breastfeeding, it starts sucking the milk. So that indicates that the source of nutrition and the source of safety also. So for a baby, everything is food. They take everything in their mouth. So why, somebody might ask that, why is that? Because uh, uh, there is uh, there is some covering of consciousness, or a physical covering, or a subtle physical covering, and a living entity can be annamaya also. So that is one level of consciousness, you can say. So it is an objective reality, but subjectively people may not be annamaya kosha. They can be, uh, anandamaya also. So because for animal also, animals are also in annamaya kosha, where everything is basically distinguished with food. Then you have this pranamaya. So the pranamaya kosha, they see everything in terms of its relevance to life. So if a baby puts something in its mouth, hot or cold, then the baby starts crying. And then they understand that, I cannot see everything as food. But as its survival, so most animals are actually in pranamaya kosha. That is why if you see, Darwin's theory is actually fit for animals. Survival for the fittest, for animals, and everybody wants to live. And Srila Prabhupada is also mentioning that, say that even the fittest won't survive as such. So, animals are eating food and they are also afraid. So, generally, pranamay kosha is in passion. Then you have the Jnanamay kosha or the subtle body. So at the level of Annamay, everything is perceived as food. In Pranamay, they understand that I have existence and I have to maintain my existence. That is quite at a bodily level of consciousness. And in the Gyanmay, one starts becoming a philosopher, one starts becoming aware of more ideas and concepts. That is, one is aware of his subtle body at a time. So, when one starts thinking about one's thoughts, what are my thoughts? So, then he thinks that all conscious being thinks, but not all conscious beings thinks about their own thinking. So see, we also think on a daily basis, right? So what am I thinking? What are my thoughts? They will only turn into my, words. So we need to think about a thinking which requires you can when we say no that to think about your own thinking is called as self-awareness. What am I thinking? Are my thoughts positive? Are my thoughts negative? So if I'm feeling angry now, but there is nothing serious that I should, become angry right now. Why am I becoming angry? Useless. Calm down. Read a book. Chant. You try to. So Jnanamay Kosha and further can be experienced only by human beings, and animals cannot experience it so much because the animals consciousness is at a very low level as such. Animals cannot inquire, humans can inquire that way. And then is Vijnanamay Kosha. So Vijnanamay means what? That one starts becoming aware that yes, I am not this body, I am the soul. He starts becoming aware of his Atma. He starts becoming aware that beyond his body is a soul, and that soul is the basis of consciousness. And the awareness that all actions which are happening in the body, what activities am I doing on a daily basis? So he starts becoming aware about that, Vijnanamaya. And then you have the Anandamaya. So at the Anandamaya level, one starts becoming conscious of the Supreme Lord. Then there is supreme happiness uh, happening in the relationship to that when one becomes purified. So there is interaction between the soul and the super soul. And we come to know that, okay, this is, I'm just one person, I'm just one soul, but there are millions of souls and there are millions of super souls, but there is one main super soul who with whom I have a relationship with. So these are different levels of consciousness, and we have to move to a higher level of consciousness. And the more we rise, the more we relish, the deeper will be our stability, our security, and the satisfaction and the happiness that we will be experiencing. And this is what is being said in this particular shloka. So let's go to the next. I know it is technical and you all might feel sleepy, and at this moment you might not really understand many things. But as in when we progress, because even when I had done Bhakti Shastri, I never understood head or tail about these shlokas. I just studied and I gave my examination, but as in when I kept on reading again and again and hearing about the same shlokas again and again from different senior devotees and pure devotees, then that understanding became more clearer and more, better as such. And then we would I was able to appreciate even this 13th chapter. I still remember that I had literally dozed off during this particular chapter for my Bhakti Shastri, because at that point of time I thought that means I can understand now that maybe I did not have that adhikar to understand this chapter or the qualification to understand this chapter. And as in when you start reading the Bhagavad Gita on a daily basis, because I think till that point of time I was not reading the Bhagavad Gita also on a daily basis. I was just reading it, here and there somewhere, like, okay, I read some parts of some shlokas and the next day I take another chapter. So I was reading randomly the Bhagavad Gita. But over a period of time, I realized that when you read in continuation, then you'll be able to understand it and appreciate also that why Krishna is giving this gyan in the right at the back. Because I was later able to understand that, okay, Gyan only will lead to bhakti. Whatever my actions are, karma, and that also will lead to bhakti, because bhakti is an activity. Bhakti is not you sit in one place or in one corner. So for that also, the your brains or your intelligence needs some food and some conviction that what I'm doing and why I'm doing. For what am I doing? Some conviction, some philosophy actually the intelligence requires. And then the intelligence is convinced that yes, whatever I'm doing is right. So that point of time, I never understood that, Hare, my karmas, whatever activities I will be doing, whatever spiritual activities I'm doing, that is actually leading to bhakti. For example, in the morning when I get up, even a thing like sleeping is a activity of bhakti, so that I can maintain my body and soul together. And when my mind is fresh in the morning, I'll be able to chant. Or an activity like brushing or bathing or ironing clothes or walking or lifting a hand, that also can be, considered as an spiritual activity. So that karma is leading to bhakti, because when we heard Amrish Maharaj's full story, then he utilized all the parts of his body in serving the Lord. So then we come to a realization that, oh, this body which is made, this body is made of some karmas of the past. And that is why I got this human body. But now, if this human body, I will not utilize every part of this human body in the service of the Lord, then again I will put into a lower species. So this human life which has been given to me, let me utilize it to its fullest. So that is karma. But how how do I execute a particular activity until unless I don't have knowledge? So that is why Gyan leads to bhakti and karma also leads to bhakti, because every activity I do in Krishna consciousness, it is building up my faith. It is building up my appreciation for the Supreme Lord. It is building up my love for the Supreme Lord. And that is why when we say karma and jnana, both, they actually are leading to bhakti. And then when I am completely Krishna conscious, then every nanosecond also I'll be thinking about Krishna. So now, when I was doing Bhakti Shastri, I didn't have that appreciation. I didn't have appreciation for this chapter also. But as and when I kept on reading again and again, because this is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. This is Bhagavad Gita, the words spoken from the lotus mouth of the Supreme Lord. And again, if we keep on reading it, you might not really understand. But at least my consciousness is getting purified. That mechanism, which starts purifying your consciousness, that I won't be able to explain, that how every soul is purified by reading the shlokas or the translations or the ecstasies written by Prabhupada, his purports. I won't be able to explain that, but yes, I can definitely say that the understanding every time you read the 13th chapter will be more clearer to you. And because Dadhami Buddhi Yogam Yena Upayantite, Krishna gives that knowledge by which, the ignorance will be dissipated, be, gone away as such. So you'll have to just bear with this 13th chapter at the moment because it's pretty technical and you might sleep. It's still okay. I really don't, mind you sleeping. But yeah, you can just revise it again and again, and then maybe I think things will be more clearer. Okay, let's go to the fourth shloka. He says that Tat Kshetram Yadri Yad sorry Tat Kshetram Yad Yadrukcha Yad Vikari Yad Chakshatyah Sa Cha Yo Yad Prabhavascha Tat Samasena Me Shrunu. So Krishna is saying that now please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted, what its changes are, whence it is produced, who the knower of the field of activities is, and what his influences are. So actually, this is like, summary verse which is describing all that's going to come later on in this chapter. Because he's saying that how the body is constituted, you know, what are the changes it is undergoing, how and when, where the body is produced, who is the knower of that field of activities, and what are the influences, the prabhavas are. So this is, he's just giving a synopsis, okay. Then the next he's saying that this is the fifth. Krishna is actually quoting authorities in this fifth shloka. He's saying that Rishibir Bahuda Gitam Chandobhe Vivida Prithak Brahma Sutra Padeschaiva Hetu Madhi Vinishchitaihe. So he's saying that knowledge of the field of activities and the knower of the activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in the Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to the cause and effects. So, see, uh, the six systems of philosophy that, the Vedanta is the conclusion, um, and the six systems of philosophy, because uh, this Vedanta Sutra or the Brahma Sutra, it is establishing that how Vedanta Sutra or how Vedanta is the conclusion of all the six systems of philosophy. So it is called Vedana Sutra, and it is talking about Brahman is the ultimate reality, and that is why it is also called the Brahma Sutra. So he's saying that if you see what Prabhupada is saying is that there is the I'm not able to find that. But anyways, he's saying that Brahma Sutra Padaschaiva. Pada is referring to a particular section of the Brahma Sutra. Pad is like a unit. And he's saying that Hetu Madhir Vinishchitaha. It is referring to what? With cause and effects. Certain causes and effects. Or you can say logic also. So the Brahma Sutra is, largely based on logic. And the whole purpose of this Vedanta Sutra is to explain that how Brahman is the ultimate reality. And the way it does it by its, it's a sequential progression, step by step. It is explaining how these various systems of thoughts are there, and it is including some, of course, orthodox thoughts also. And because orthodox thoughts means what? That which is accepting this Vedantic system of philosophy, and it is accepting the Veda as the authority, like the Sankhya Yoga and the Vedantas or the Vaisheshikas or the heterodox also. Heterodox means what? Heterodox is rejecting the Veda as an authority, like Buddhism and Jainism and all these. So among all these, how the Vedanta is highest, that is established in the scriptures, and it is quoted that how uh, how the Vedanta is the highest, and the import of this scripture is established through both. It is quoting also other parallel, scriptures also, and it is establishing the authority by some logical inferences also. So when we are seeing over here, Krishna is quoting authority. He's talking about Rishibir Bahuda Gitam. Krishna is saying that he's speaking, what he's speaking is spoken earlier even by the great sages. Chanda can, refer to a particular way in which all these uh, Vedic hymns are recited. And Chanda can also mean that Chandogya Upanishad also. So the word Chando Bhir Vividha Prathak is coming. So that is why he's saying that it can be some Vedic hymns also, and it can be Chandogya Upanishad also. So this is what he's talking about. And if you see in Srila Prabhupada's purport also, he's spoken much about elaborately. You'll just have to read the purport as such. And he's spoken elaborately on this Vedanta Sutra and Brahma Sutra. Let's go to the next shloka. Prabhupada has explained it very nicely in the purport. Okay. So the sixth and the seventh shlokas have been clubbed by Srila Prabhupada. He says that Mahabhutani Ahankaro Mahabhutani Ahankaro Indriyani Dashekam Cha Panchachandriya Gochara Ichha Dvesha Sukha Dukkha Sukham Ichha Dvesha Sukham Dukham. And then he's saying that Sangas Chetana Dhritihi Etat Chetragnam Samasena Savikaram Udaritam. The five great elements, false ego. Five great elements means earth, water, air, fire, and ether. The false ego, the intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the five sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life systems, and the convictions. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. So you have these 24 elements in the sixth shloka. The five great elements, then the knowledge acquiring, the working senses, the five objects. The mind is the 11th sense. And intelligence, you have the false ego, and then you have the pradhana also. And he's saying that because see, in Sankhya, you have 24 elements. This is what five, great elements, five knowledge acquiring senses, five working senses, and five sense objects. So this becomes how many? 20, right? And then you have the 21st, that is the mind. Then you have the intelligence, then you have the false ego, and then you have the pradhana. Then this is like 24. So these 24 elements, they are called the field of activities. So, then he's saying that Mahabhutani. Then Mahabhutani is, the five, you know, great elements. And then you have the Buddhi, then you have the Ahankar. And uh, uh, in this particular section, we understand that what is Kshetra and Kshetragna. So right now, Krishna is right now describing the Kshetra first. He's describing, because he described the Kshetragna, the one who is the knower of the field is the Kshetragna. Knower of the field is like Atma. And then you have the Paramatma. And then he said that, I'll describe you that where does Kshetra comes from. So now he's describing over here all these five elements in knowledge acquiring senses and all this. So, and he's also describing the various things in connection to that. So that is why he said that Panchedriya Gochara. So the Kshetra is material nature, and what the material nature is constituting is these 24 elements. And then he moves forward. He's saying that Ichha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukham, he says that. So Krishna is saying that Kshetram, Vikari, Yatascha. So these are all transformations that are going on. And these are the transformations that the Kshetra is undergoing. Vikaram, when he's saying that. So, what are the Vikara Kshetra undergoes? Then he's saying that Ichha Dvesha, attachment, aversion, Sukh, Dukh. And like I don't like something, then that is Dukham. If I like something, then it is Sukha. So these are Vikaras or changes of that Kshetra. And then how is that then? The soul, the source of that consciousness is, transcendental. It is not the part of Kshetra. The soul is Kshetragna. So when a person is watching a movie, okay, and when he's watching a movie, then how is he watching that movie? Is like the Kshetragna. And the movie screen on which the movie is being played, that is the Kshetra, that is the field. So at the level of constituent or that components, what is that the Kshetra made up of? So, okay, the Kshetra is made up, there has to be a projector, there has to be a screen, there has to be proper lighting arrangement, by which that attention is drawn towards the movie. So, that is the area, the Kshetra, which the movie will be, created to. That is, experience, so that the people will be able to experience, right? But within that particular movie also, what will be there? So the Kshetra Vikar. So if, for example, the hero and heroine, they are moving around some tree, okay, or they are, loving their children or loving each other, right, or embracing each other. So then there is Ichha, and that Ichha will lead either to Sukh or Dukh. Okay, if the hero gets beaten by the villain, then there will be Dvesha. Okay. And one doesn't want that to happen. So then that will lead to Dukkha. So these are called the Kshetra Vikara. As the illusion is happening on the movie screen. But then they will also have some effect. So that is why he's saying that So it is interesting that he's saying that if you see over here, Sangas Chetana Dhritihi. He's saying that this particular Chetana is that consciousness. And that consciousness is also called Kshetra Vikara. So now we know that consciousness does not come from matter, right? Consciousness comes from soul. So why is this? Because it is not talking about, consciousness per se. It is talking about consciousness which is projected within that particular matter. It is talking about the consciousness which is experiencing that movie. So if I am watching that movie, so I am experiencing that particular movie, right? Or uh, the virtual reality that is there. So if I am watching that particular movie, uh, uh, I can look around also, right? I can look down also, but I am looking straight to the movie. So my whole attention is focused on the movie, and my consciousness is also projected into the movie. Then whatever changes are happening, that is nothing to do with my actually original life, right? The real life is somewhere aside. But what I'm experiencing right now, so like that also, we have a spiritual life. We have an original life with Krishna. But unfortunately, what we have done is we have forgotten. Like I'm watching a movie, I forget everything. That I have a real life also. I have a child who's crying at home, but I'm so busy, watching the movie. So we have forgotten that spiritual life and we are focusing on this material life. And we are experiencing emotion which is Kshetra Vikara. So in the movie, when the hero cries or the heroine cries, even I will also cry. But that is not real crying. It has nothing to do with my original pure consciousness, of my soul. So that is why saying that Sangas Chetana Dhritihi. So he's saying that this Dhriti, Dhriti refers to this conviction. So we also have certain convictions, okay, that okay, this is good and this is bad, and um, uh, this is Indian and this is American, and Americans may think that this is good and Indians may think that this is bad, and sometimes some people may think that okay, this Pakistani is evil, and Pakistani may think that Indians are evil. So we all have our certain conceptions and certain convictions. So these are produced by the Kshetra Vikara. Vikara means changes. Okay. So Savikaram Udharitam. So this way, Krishna is defining Kshetra and the Kshetragna. So now this is actually a very condensed definition of Sankhya, which is given in this 39. And Srila Prabhupada, if you read in the pulpit, he's saying that uh, one who desires to know the 24 elements in detail along with the interactions study the philosophy in more detail. In the Bhagavad Gita, only a summary is given. So Sankhya is a very detailed study. It covers how the analysis of matter should lead us from matter to spirit, and within the arena of that spirit, it should lead us to the supreme personality of Godhead. So Krishna's purpose is not to analyze Sankhya. Because we know in the Bhagavad Gita there is a context, and that is what Arjuna should do in the battlefield, right? That it is not that whether Arjuna should fight or not fight, that is just a decision he has to take based on certain understanding. So, what is that understanding? That understanding is that Arjuna is a part of Krishna, and it is best for him to act in peace or harmony with Krishna. And how he will do that? He will do that by learning to love and to serve Krishna. And that is what it will be based on. It will be based on this understanding that Bhagwan is the highest sadhya or the goal. And bhakti is the highest sadhana. So, what is the sadhya? Krishna or Bhagwan. And sadhana is what? My bhakti. So, Krishna is analyzing Sankhya here to help Arjuna understand that the ultimate reality is bhakti. And this Sankhya will lead to that Bhagwan as the highest reality. And bhakti is the highest, all the, bhakti has the ultimate sadhya. Right. So, this is what he's trying to say in the 6th and 7th shloka. Okay, from here onwards starts a very interesting, what do you say, section. So, from this particular text onwards, from the 8th to the 12th, there's such an interesting, actually, what do you say, section that Krishna is saying that this is real jnanam, the process of acquiring knowledge. And over here in this particular shlokas, he is going to answer the fifth question posed by Arjuna in the first shloka. He's going to give about jnanam, knowledge. And knowledge of what? Knowledge of the body, the soul, and the super soul. And the what is that real process of acquiring that knowledge is to actually cultivate those saintly qualities. And the first saintly quality which Krishna is actually describing is amanitvam, that is humility. And because see, Krishna has described Kshetra, and in the next verses also, he will describe that element of knowledge, the 20 elements of knowledge in the this he's described already. So this is the longest set of verse which Srila Prabhupada, put it together, because these verses describe only one theme, and that is Gyan. And Gyan means what? That knowledge about Krishna, the knowledge about yourself also, and the knowledge about Krishna also. And very significantly, Krishna is starting this description where he says that अमानित्वम् अदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा शान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासं शौचं स्थैर्यम् आत्मविनिग्रह इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि दुःख दोषानुदर्शनम् आसक्तिरनभिवक्न पुत्र दारागृधातिषु नित्यं च समचित्तं व ईशा इष्टान्निस्तोपपत्तिषु मयि चान्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिण विविक्तदेश सेवित्वम् अरतिर्ज्ञानसंसिद्धि आध्यात्मज्ञान नित्यात्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम्. So these are some एतद्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यद् अतो अन्यथा. So these are 20 factors which have been given over here. And very, very much, if you see the word to word translation also of these, the first, quality that you can say the first saintly quality for acquiring that knowledge. See, if you don't have humility, and the opposite of humility is, arrogance or, ego as such. So we will not be able to understand this knowledge which Krishna is giving, because we will put ourselves above Krishna. But to understand Krishna, we have to put we have to put ourselves below him. And that is why he's saying amanatvam, humility. And he's saying that adambitvam, pridelessness. So, see, what is the difference between amanitvam and pridelessness? Or humility and pridelessness. Amanitvam means that not to be proud when we have a reason to be proud, right? Sometimes we say, oh, we are proud parents of, two children who are doing much better in their, life, uh, or I have done something which actually is a matter of pride. But what I will say that no, whatever I have done, this is actually the mercy of my spiritual master, or this is the mercy of my spiritual master and the previous acharyas, what I've been able to do. So I have all the reasons to be proud. Oh, I have done so much book, I have distributed so many books. I have all the reason to be proud. But I don't get into that loop. I don't be proud, or I'm not proud of that particular activity that I have done, because I know that until and unless, if Srila Prabhupada would have not written only these books, what would I be distributing? If I wouldn't be only in Krishna consciousness, if my spiritual master would have not initiated me, I wouldn't be doing any of these activities. So then, which means that uh, uh, I have all the reasons to be having full pride, but I am not, because I give the credit to my preceders, or my, seniors, or my Guru Parampara. And adambhitvam means what? Don't be proud when we don't have a reason to be proud. So we should not be having pride. Like sometimes, people keep a very a bigger look than what they are. Like for example, he might be lakpati, but he will show, no, I am the, billionaire that way, or I might be a zillionaire. So you actually you show yourself more bigger than what you are. So when a person is a billionaire and he thinks that, I'm a billionaire, that is pride. And when a person is not a billionaire and he's thinking, I'm a billionaire, so that is damba. Damba means hypocrisy. What I am not. If I'm not humble and I'm trying to show that I'm humble, if I'm not a hypocrite and sorry, if I'm a hypocrite and I try to show that I'm not a hypocrite, that is. So it's called that we should not brag what we don't have, and also don't brag even if we don't have anything. For example, I don't have humility. So I will not brag that, oh, I'm a very humble person and I'm very, very much down to earth that way. So if you see in general, people wanted to look big in the eyes of the world. Like, I am this and I am that. And then when they brag, uh, they become, small in the eyes of people, because uh, such people uh, such people are always depending on others' praise. Oh, this person should praise me, and then only I'll think that I'm big and all that, like as such. So those who try to look big in others' eyes actually are small. But if a person thinks that I'm the lowest of the lowest, I'm like, that is why Acharya is saying that I'm a worm in the stool. This is my position. And we think, oh, such a great devotee. If he's thinking that he's a worm in the stool, then what is my position over here? And that is why Krishna says that these 20 are knowledge. And outside this is not knowledge. So Krishna is describing knowledge in terms of virtues, not in terms of information. तो ये जो है, ये virtues मतलब क्या, ये गुण है. गुण मीन्स दीज आर माई क्वालिटीज. ये गुण मुझे धीरे धीरे विकसित करने हैं. मेरे पास ह्यूमिलिटी नहीं है. आई डोंट हैव ह्यूमिलिटी. देन हाउ विल आई कल्टिवेट ह्यूमिलिटी? by associating with those who are humble, by at least understanding that, first recognizing that, hey, I'm not humble, I'm arrogant. So I should try to see that how I am I. Of course, ह्यूमिलिटी में ये नहीं है कि आप अपना सेल्फ वर्थ ही खो दो, नॉट दैट वे. बट आई विल ट्राई टू सी दैट how I will give credit to whatever I am doing. I'll give every day, that every activity I'll give the credit to my superiors, or to my spiritual master, or to Srila Prabhupada, or to Krishna, like that. So a technical knowledge is important, but a technical knowledge alone is not important, because it will not make any person's character. वो character में ढालेगा नहीं उसको technical knowledge में. And today if you see, most of the knowledge that we are getting in today's world is focusing on earning. How, if you do this, you will earn this much money. If you do this, you will earn this much money. And it is not focusing on character development. So that is why if you see in the purpose of any education is to develop a character and not only earn and live. That is why if you see in all our gurukuls that are there, whether it's in Vrindavan or in Mayapur, or we have a Bhaktivedanta model school over here, it is actually focusing more on character development. Because you have a good character, earning you can do anywhere. Like if you see nowadays, all these software engineers, they are turning into, agricultural side. He has done software engineering, or even myself. I'm a software engineer, but I turned into a teacher as such. So, big higher degrees are not going to give us that satisfaction, which when we develop a particular character or qualities is going to give us satisfaction. If I am, very honest, if I live a very simple life, if I have these 20 qualities which Krishna is actually describing, if I have self-control, and if I have tolerance, and if I'm very simple in my nature, right? Simple in my dealings with devotees also, or with any non-devotee also, I'll be more happy. And it's all about internal happiness and not external praises as such. So that is why Prabhupada in his purport is writing that this process of knowledge is it is misunderstood by those who are less intelligent. And some people think that this is Kshetra Vikar. And but actually it is not Kshetra Vikar. It is path of Kshetra Vimukti. One has to get liberated from the Kshetra. And for this process, it is used. But actually, this is the real process of knowledge. When you start being humble, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity. And when one accepts this process, then there is a possibility that he'll be able to approach the Supreme Lord when he knows. So, means what? That we will come out of that entanglement of these elements, and we will be able to see that how uh, knowledge will terminate into unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So within Jnanam also, one element is described as bhakti. So actually, this one element from the perspective of the Jnanis, that Jnanis also practice bhakti. We will discuss a little later when we come, for the yoga ladder. But we should know that even Jnanis have to practice bhakti at some level. And only when they practice bhakti, they get realization. And then they get liberation also. So, till the time the Jnani does not practice bhakti, he will not get any realization of his jnana also. So, whether it is karma yoga, whether it is jnana yoga, whether it is ashtanga yoga, dhyan yoga, any yoga, the element of bhakti has to be there, then only he will get that desired result. वो उस चरम सीमा पे पहुंच पाएगा जब वो भक्ति करेगा. To the highest level he will reach only when he will actually follow the limbs of bhakti. So Krishna is talking about jnana sadhana over here. And jnanis have to develop these certain qualities because these qualities only help him to rise in the path of devotion. And that is why Prabhupada is also saying that how even a devotee can understand these qualities and develop these qualities as such. So, like for example, when we have a disease, there'll be some symptom, and then there is some solution also, right? Similarly, for this Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, Dukha Doshanu Darshanam. See, so this is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. It is a symptom, right? And uh, uh, when I'm perceiving these miseries, it's like, it's like, a tip of the iceberg. And below that, there is misdirection of my consciousness. The bigger problem is my consciousness. Instead of being directed to the spirit, my consciousness is being directed to the matter. And this only misdirection from the spirit to matter is causing me varieties of bad quality. Originally, I was a spirit soul, but now when I come over here, excuse me. Now, when I come over here, I get into the association of matter and it is causing me varieties of bad qualities. So, a redirection of matter to spirit is called that redevelopment of those virtues qualities. And these virtues quality, these qualities that are there, amanatum, adhamitum, ahimsa and all like, so there is a surface problem and there is a deeper problem. And then there is a solution also. So what is the deeper problem? Janma Mritu Jara Vyadhi is my, problem. And the deeper surface problem is all these qualities mentioned here are not there, right? And the solution is what? Then he's saying that where is that? Ha. Mai chanina yogena bhaktir avyabhicharini. He's saying that to the extent, anybody will practice, to start practicing bhakti, to that extent, that person will start embracing the path of devotion. To that extent, he will make spiritual advancement, and to that extent, he will make a rapid advancement and go back home, back to Godhead. And that is why we have to go beyond Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. So, a person who takes that you can say, बहुत deeper treatment लेना पड़ेगा. He will be able to free himself from the deeper problem and that surface problem also. And that is why he's saying that Acharyopasanam Socham, the most important in this. He's saying that um, uh, it is because when you say Acharyopasanam means what? Serving a bona fide spiritual master, right? Without any motivation. Um, एक second, no? Here he's saying approaching a bona fide spiritual master. So when we approach a bona fide spiritual master without any motivations, so if you see, Prabhupada is saying that humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. मैंने त्रिनादपि सुनी चेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुम अमानिन मानि देन कीर्तनीय सदा हरि. So whether I get honor or whether I get dishonor, I will keep on chanting. अमानिन मान देना कीर्तनीय सदा हरि. सदा हरि का कीर्तन में करता रहूंगा. And we accept of course somebody is giving us respect, we accept that particular respect, but we don't expect respect. Okay, I chanted, for example, I chanted 64 rounds in the whole Kartik month. Now people should worship me. I chanted 64 rounds. This is just an example I'm giving, okay? So we are not expecting any respect. Or during the Rath Yatra, I did so much of hard work, labor. The whole Rath Yatra I coordinated and I, got these VIPs and everything. And now, I should be felicitated. So not expecting, any respect. And a devotee primarily is focusing on what? That how best I can serve Krishna in any situation. Whether somebody acknowledges me, somebody does not acknowledge me, I don't care. I will keep on, doing my services. That is called, not expecting anything in return of our services. Of course, our superiors are so very merciful and compassionate that time to time they do acknowledge. Like the spiritual master keeps on acknowledging, thank you so much. Whenever I used to go, in front of my spiritual master or meet my spiritual master, he should always thank me. Thank you so much for all the services that you're doing. And we feel that at least I used to feel that Maharaj, what you are doing throughout the whole world, you are moving around the whole world. I'm just sitting in one place in Pune and I'm doing something very small. But opposite to what you are doing, I'm not even doing one thousand part also of what you are doing. And still you are thanking me. In fact, we should be the ones to thank you for actually, spreading this Krishna conscious movement far and wide. But that is the humility of the spiritual master, and that's how he acknowledges our services. That we think that, okay, spiritual master is in US and I'm in Pune, my spiritual master does not know anything what I'm doing. But no, spiritual master is Trikaldarshi. He knows past, present, and future. He knows every second what you're doing. Why? Because the spiritual master is a manifestation of this Paramatma sitting in your own heart. The moment you desired that I want to practice spirituality and I need a spiritual master, immediately the Paramatma pops out from your heart and it manifests as the spiritual master. So there's a nice coordination between the spiritual master and the Paramatma. They have a very good tie-up. And that's how whatever we are doing sitting in Pune or wherever you are, the spiritual master, even if sitting in one corner of the world, he knows everything, whatever you're doing. So Prabhupada is saying that actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a test to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by these items. I can judge myself. Do I have enough humility? No. Am I pridelessness? No. Okay, I still have pride. Then what do? Let me work upon. I have a lot of pride that, okay, I am the richest man of the world and I have so many cars and so many, servants as such. Then non-violence, non-violence means what? Non-violence means not to harm others even by our actions. It's not only physical, but even subtly also through our actions. Then am I tolerant enough? Because anybody who has 100% tolerance, his humility will start from there only. Am I simple in my dealings? Am I duplicit? Am I, very simple in my dealings with devotees also? Or do I manipulate things? Or do I, twist and turn instances as such? So, Prabhupada is giving a very balanced perspective. On one side, he's saying that we practice bhakti, we will develop these good qualities. And on the other side, he's saying that if we are practicing bhakti, we should have these qualities. So that means that he's saying that the test of spiritual advancement is these qualities. So, in one sense, we do not have to do anything extra to develop these qualities. We have to practice devotional service, and these qualities will automatically come while practicing, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So, while practicing devotional service, we should also see that these qualities are coming in. The more we become serious about our devotional practices, the more these qualities will be inculcated into us by default. अलग से उनको विकसित करने की जरूरत नहीं है, अपने आप ही ये गुण हमारे में आ जाएंगे. लेकिन to the degree I'm seriously practicing my spiritual life, to that degree these qualities will start popping in my life. So, like for example, when a patient is sick, he takes medicine, right? And his parameters under observation improves, right? When he's keep on taking medicine. So for us, the medicine is what? For us, the medicine is that we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is a medicine for the soul, right? And then you have some do's and you have some don'ts. So when I'm saying non-violence, okay, means not killing or destroying somebody. But non-violence means not to put others also in distress by my words, by my actions. You know. So that is why these qualities are so very important. And when a soul goes through various species, he gets many human bodies. And when in human form, it has opportunity to get some liberation. So, not allowing a soul to take the path of devotional service where it gets liberation. So, and bhakti. So, that is also violence towards the soul. Like, you stop somebody from doing bhakti, or you stop somebody from not doing any activity out of your own pride and ego. Now I will see how she will do book distribution. Now I will see how she will do deity worship. Now I will see how she will enter the temple also. So that is also one way of violence only. So towards that particular soul. So if the doctor, for example, if the doctor is not giving proper medicine, so that the patient will not be able to get only discharged, is also violence towards the patient. The doctor is cheating the patient so that he should not become all right. Otherwise, how will his meter keep on, going? The doctor will think, I will give some teda meda medicine. Again, he'll come back to me. Then again, I'll give something else, usko gumraha karna kehte hai. To mislead him. So, real violence is not interfering in people's recovery. So, and if you see, if you take even one thing, tolerance. So, uh, we should see that even small things don't distract us from our bigger goal. Like somebody's insulted me because something went wrong in my life, and then my daily routine, gets disturbed. that should not distract me from my ultimate purpose. अभी किसी ने मुझे कुछ बोल दिया, बस मेरा 16 माला पे इफेक्ट हो गया, अभी मैं 16 माला आज दिन नहीं करूंगी, मेरा ना मन बड़ा अशांत है तो आज मैं 16 माला स्किप कर दूंगा. Not like that. We should be tolerant. Okay, somebody said something because of my some past karmas, I have got that reaction, but let me be more tolerant enough and chant my rounds. And simplicity, arjavam, he's saying that, or truthfulness, you know. So devotee is not political or diplomatic. He is a simple person. And Srila Prabhupada is making a very nice point over here, because he's saying that Acharopasanam, a bona fide spiritual master, is a representative of Krishna. And if he bestows any blessing upon his disciples, that will make the disciple immediately advanced without the disciples following the regulative principles. Wow, that is so nice. But spiritual master wants that we follow the regulative principles, and he has given us the regulative principles. So you can say that the regulative principles will become very easy for him to follow. One who is serving his spiritual master without any reservation, बिना हिचकिचाहट के अगर कोई अपने गुरु की सेवा कर रहा है, तो तुरंत ही उसको जो है गुरु की कृपा मिल जाएगी. He will immediately get the mercy of his spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada is acknowledging over here, if you see, he's saying that that somebody can become spiritual advancement without even following the regulative principles. So regulative principles are important, but it is not that important ultimately. It is one's attraction towards Krishna and Bhakti. So he's saying that, just 1 minute, okay? He's saying that Bhakti Sanjayate Bhakti. Actually, it is one's attraction towards Krishna developed by one's connection with the devotees. So when one is associated with those who have bhakti, the spiritual master has bhakti, the senior devotees have bhakti, then by that association, we get bhakti. And thus, then we will make some spiritual advancement. So that is why association of the seniors, association of the spiritual master is so very important. And somebody might really think that, hey, how will I associate with my spiritual master? So we can associate with our spiritual master 24/7 by following his instructions. Srila Prabhupada also said that you want to associate with me, you follow my instructions, 24/7 you are in my association. So that is why when he's saying that Bhakti Sanjayate Bhakti, the regulative principle is easier to follow for one who is served a spiritual master without any reservation. And there are two ways one becomes automatically advanced by serving the spiritual master even without following the regulative principles. Conversely, one gets strength by serving the spiritual master. So ultimately, one has to serve the spiritual master. See, serving the spiritual master means only not a vapu. Vapu means his body, but his vani also. If the spiritual master says that you should preach, if the spiritual master says that you should manage the temple, if the spiritual master says do book distribution, if the spiritual master says do deity worship, so you are actually serving the spiritual master. So ultimately, one has to serve the spiritual master, and the attraction to devotees is a propellant to spiritual path. So it is not just following the regulative principles. I am following the instructions of my spiritual master, and Prabhupada is also saying that till the time I do not have a pessimistic view of this material life, that okay, that this is birth, death, old age, and disease. They are there is no impetus for my making spiritual advancement in life. So this pessimism is more realism, because somebody who is thirsty, when he's given half a glass of water, and one can debate whether he's pessimistic or optimistic. But if he's given an empty glass, then there is no question only of such a debate. So that is why, so denying reality is not optimism, but it is stupidity. So reality is that I am into this material world. I have fallen down from the spiritual world, and now I am in a fallen condition. Then when there is pessimism, when there is no solution, but we have solution of these problems for life. I have solution for Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, and disease. Right? So, when I'm saying that detachment from children, wife, home, it is not meant that one should have no feeling for these. See, children, wife, home, these are very natural objects of affection. And because the very nature of the soul is to love, so he will pour out his love on somebody. And if not on Krishna, then at least on some of his family members. But when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. If the family members are favorable, giving them affection, yes, fine, very nice. And trying a level best to give our affection to them, trying a level best to do our duties towards them. As a father, okay, it's my duty to, give education and get him married. That's my duty towards my children, right? But if they're not favorable to my spiritual life, then I should not be attached to them also. And the best process of making this home pleasant is actually Krishna conscious. So, when I'm saying that uh, affection and attachment, so affection is refers to very natural affection you have, right? Or emotional human connection which is there, and which has to be there. It is important for relationships to exist, right? But when we are relating to people, we have to relate to them as complete person. We can't say that a person that I love, uh, we cannot say to somebody that, okay, I love your soul, but I can't care for your body. You cannot say that. Because, if you see, Prabhupada in his Vyas Puja, uh, amidst a very grand celebration, he's asked a devotee who is limping that what happened to him during the Vyas Puja, right? And Srila Prabhupada gave him a prescription how to prepare a homemade medicine so that he can become cured. So, in a relationship, when we take care, we need to take care of the body, the mind, and the soul, right? So, protection doesn't just mean spiritual protection. Telling people that this is right and this is wrong, this is good for you and this is bad for you. That is important, but along with that, people should also feel valued. People should feel cared. People should feel cherished. The success of our movement, Prabhupada says, is very much dependent on how we can steadily inspire devotees to keep doing their devotional practices throughout their life. It's not like that, okay, 1 year he does and the other year he's gone. Not that way. Or 10 years he does and then, the 11th year he's gone. No. So once a person comes to the shelter of Krishna, taking care of a person who has come to the shelter of Krishna is also important, so that that person can go on lifelong and feel cared and inspired. That sensitivity we should have. And sometimes often the emphasis on detachment from the family members is given, and it can have a very negative effect also on people, in terms of irresponsibility, or but we can say that detachment is not irresponsibility. Detachment means only a lack of excessive emotional entanglement in these material things, whereas irresponsibility is unwillingness to shoulder a burden which is actually his own, you know. So if a person is in family life, then the person has to take care of the family. He can't just shirk away his duties. So, if you see in earlier days, families were staying in the temple. And once temple authorities told Matajis uh, that distributing Srila Prabhupada's books are more important than taking care of your babies, it is motherly instinct to take care of the babies, the child. Then one Mataji, she wrote a letter to, Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada very strongly wrote back that what is this strange things, uh, as a mother? These children are Vaikuntha children, and children are a gift of God. So Prabhupada wanted to avoid both the extremes. One side, he does not want that Matajis to avoid some home responsibilities also for the sake of these missionary activity. Missionary activity means what? Making temple is a missionary activity. Building temple is a missionary activity. Or distributing books is a missionary activity. Or doing deity worship is also missionary activity. If you don't, for example, you come to an ISKCON temple and you see the dress of the deities having a lot of dust on that, accumulated on the deity dress or on the crown. Will you be attracted to the Lord? Immediately your eyes will, oh, there is dust over here. Oh, there is dust over there. So you can say that these all are all missionary activities. And the same time, Srila Prabhupada didn't want them to be restricted to only home activities, and be not allowed to participate in these missionary activities. So there has to be a balance. So the same apply to the husbands also. Husband has to take care of the family. And detachment does not mean that he is neglecting his family members, and members don't need any emotional support, or they don't need any guidance as such. So spiritually one has to be affectionate but not attached, right? ओवर अटैचमेंट नहीं होना चाहिए, ओ द होल डे आप उसको ही लेके बैठे रहो, ऐसा नहीं है. We may say that it is not easy to divide the line, but need not have to always walk on that line. Sometimes we will be on the left, sometimes we'll be on the right. Overall, we have to move in the right direction towards Krishna. So we need to have a very clear understanding, at least conceptually and philosophically also. Affection is essential. There, the uh, uh, like how in Bhagavatam, uh, how a married life is like a fortress, fort, fort a killa, है ना? And in only extreme cases when this horizontal relationship is unsurmountable, there's an obstacle to the vertical relationship, then some extreme action is required. But we should not assume that obstacle is insurmountable right from the beginning. So we should try to see that how devotional our practices for devotional service, they don't disturb others, and they don't disturb even our family members also. Like I always give this example. I remember in Delhi when I used to stay, so this devotee had three children, two sons and one daughter. And he had a very nice factory. He was running a jeans factory. In his factory, those jeans were made, jeans jacket and jeans trousers and all that. But all of a sudden, the temple came, means where he was staying, uh, the temple acquired a land over there, and a new temple was being built over there. Of course, on a very small scale, it got built over there that time. So this person, what he used to do is, his whole time morning from Mangla Arati till 12 o'clock, he was there in the temple only itself. Then what happened is that he used to not go to his factory. Very late he used to, because of course he's very tired by the time he wakes up and all that. So he used to come home and he used to eat and he used to sleep. By the time he's going to the factory, it's 3 o'clock. So the workers come at 10 o'clock. From 10 to 3, you can say 5 hours the workers are not doing anything. His production stopped. Then he's not even paying attention to his wife's needs or the children's needs. And, he's thinking that, okay, now, I am like, sannyasi only. He started behaving as if he's sannyasi. I'm not attached to anybody. The child is not feeling well. He's having high fever, 103 fever. He's not taking them to the doctor. The wife is calling me up and telling that you please explain to him as such. Then one day I took a class. I mean, not a class exactly. I tried to explain him as such that this is not the way do bhakti. Krishna is not at all pleased with your this particular bhakti, because he used to think me as his sister, so I had the rights to correct him as such. So the wife called me up, then I was trying to explain him that, see, this is not going to, run in the longer term. You're trying to please the Supreme Lord, but the Supreme Lord has given you some responsibility. He has given you a wife, he has given you three, sweet children, and the children are like a fatherless child. You're as good as, not there in the house. But he did not pay any heed actually to whatever I said. And ultimately, his factory had to be closed down, and somehow or the other he realized it, after a lot of uh, ups and downs in his life. And now I think he's nine now he's realized, he's taken the lesson of his life. But why go into that loop, when we know only that uh, we have to have affection for our family members. We have to do their duty. We don't have to be unnecessarily attached, but affection has to be there. That human on you, at least on humanitarian grounds, we should have that affection. So sometimes we may say that even my chanting of Hare Krishna is disturbing others. No, we have to understand that more or less in most part of the world we live in a democratic society. And every individual has some rights to make some choices of his own. So even if my family members say are not devotees, but I can communicate to my family members that, see, I feel very much inspired to live according to these principles, and this is what I'm going to practice. We don't have to impose on them. We don't have to impose our thoughts on others. But at the same time, it does not mean that we give up our devotional practices for the sake of others. We can tell them in a very good way. So the good example of attachment is Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. That means that even if a person is going on a wrong track, one allows a person to go on a wrong track. And in fact, one one will support also that wrong track, because one cannot say no to that person out of attachment. So we have to see, we have to check to ourselves that where is my attachment going to? Is it going in the right direction or in the wrong direction? Dhritarashtra's attachment is actually in a very wrong direction towards Duryodhan. And Duryodhan used to blackmail Dhritarashtra, I will commit suicide and I will go and die and this and that and all. So Dhritarashtra could not say anything. And Vidura had actually told Dhritarashtra, you should kill this child, because he is like a rotten mango in this particular basket. He's going to actually give you a lot of miseries if he's alive. Because when Duryodhan was born, there were all inauspicious symptoms. Donkeys were braying, and there was too much of storm, and the trees were not bearing fruits. and flowers. It was a completely, havoc created when Duryodhan was born. And seeing these symptoms, Vidura had advised Dhritarashtra that you should immediately kill him. But Dhritarashtra did not do it out of affection. So one has to be sensitive while being, affectionate towards the family members, and we have to be very careful also. Okay. With that, I will just I have many things to say in my notes, but I feel that maybe I could continue it next time for these qualities as such, that how slowly we can, develop these qualities as such. If anybody has any questions, queries, doubts, you can ask me. Nobody has any questions? Okay, fine. So we'll just end for the day. Srila Prabhupada की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, हरे कृष्ण हरि बोल.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Pranam.
धन्यवाद.
Hare Ram.